welcome to Refinery. We're looking at Trends 2024. Got a few things to talk about today, and hopefully these resonate with you. Not sure. Check them out and tell me what you think. We're living in a bit of a weird world at the moment. JK said this about 20 years ago. It's a crazy world we're living in, and that's couldn't be truer today than it was when he said it. What's happening? Well, there's an old guy here, Marshall McLuhan. Might have heard of him. He was a futurist. He said we're living in a world of all at onceness. He said this in 1960. Time has ceased. Space has vanished. We live in a global village. Now, I don't think the tech was there then, but it certainly is now. And what does that really mean? What does a global village look like in 2024? It looks a bit like this. The global village is a place of very arduous interfaces and very abrasive situations. Does that sound like X? Does that sound like Fox News? Does that sound like anything that you interact with on a daily basis? Everyone's got an opinion. Everybody seems to hate each other, and there's divisiveness everywhere. You know, no one is in the center anymore. Everyone is left and right. Even if the left is way left and the right is way right, and they're basically the same people, it all comes back to the same place. Everyone's nuts. We're living in a world of virtual insanity. Everything is mediated through the screen, and everything is mediated through the things that we think we know and the people that we think we might know as well. So the way to really look at this is to take a step back and see where this came from. Where are we now? Because if you look in the rearview mirror, you might have an idea of where you're going in the future. So we come from this idea of postmodernism. And what is postmodernism? What was it? It's an idea about looking at the world through being a skeptic and looking at the things subjectively and not taking things necessarily true, but having a general suspicion of what reason might be. Hence, everyone's crazy. And the ideology of the things that you're talking about really maintain the political and economic power in the world. In other words, the author of the message is in charge. Now, that has been very, very true for a while. What's shifted? I think we quite know it's shifted. Social media has shifted everything, and everybody's become an author, right? So the medium is the message. That's what Marshall McLuhan said, 1960 something, right? If you look at X, the message there is all about Elon Musk and his right-wing views, apparently, if that's the way you want to look at it. It's Fox News with their right-wing views. It's TVNZ, and you can fit any side of that you want to on a lens through them. And then Stuff, who seems to be left-leaning, depending on who you're looking at. And the way that you look at the medium that's bringing you the thing influences the perception that you have of what that thing is that they're saying. So maybe the message is a bit lost just through your own lens. So I think we're living in a world of postmodernism now. That's gone. The medium isn't necessarily the message anymore. The people within it are. But some things have changed. Let's have a look at this. She might be standing for president in a couple of months' time, Kamala Harris. And she says, I want an America where everyone feels safe. How does that feel to you? Does that sound about right? Does that sound like a good message? What if this guy said it? I want an America where everyone feels safe. Does that sound good? Well, depending on the lens that you look through and the bias that we have ourselves, you're probably getting it with messages like this. Kamala might be the place for pedophiles, and Donald Trump is the place where Nazis feel safe. And that's completely not what they said, but that's the lens that we're living through, right? So the medium's not the message anymore. The people are the message, right? So the recipient's part of the process, and the people that tell the story are the people that influence the way the narrative is perceived, right? So the medium is the message, and guess what? We are the message because we are the medium. Profoundly different worlds to one maybe 10, 20 years ago. So what does that mean for where we're sitting? It means let's look at some marketing trends, and how does the reality of the scape of news and current affairs affect marketing trends. It's not what you know. I think we know that. And it's not even who you know, right? It's who knows you. And why is that important? Because the people that know you or think they know you, the thing that you say is completely affected about their impression of who you are. So it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter who you know either. It's who knows you. Quite a big shift, right? So another thing we're looking at is the idea of you will own nothing. That's a very popular expression. It's kind of doing the round at the moment. And Ida Aiken said that. She said, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. I'm not sure how that resonates, but owning nothing leads to kind of some very interesting looks at the world, and it messes with us a bit, right? Because we're living in a subscription-based existence. You can buy your Adobe subscription. iTunes was probably one of the first ones where you had all the music in your pocket, but now you don't want it in your pocket anymore. You want it online. You can have all the music in the world as long as you pay. Gone are your records or your CDs or whatever you used to have. Now everything belongs on the cloud, but it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to someone else and you're just renting it. Netflix is the same. And you don't even need a car. You can do Ubers and you can rent houses. Housing in New Zealand is becoming a rental paradise. Everyone's going to rent by 2050, apparently. So what does that mean? How does that affect people where you own nothing and everything's on subscription? Well, run out of money and see how wonderful life is if you don't have a subscription anymore. We're ending up in a world where people are displaced because they don't own anything. The classic Kiwi quarter-acre plot, that's gone, right? The classic Kiwi 200-foot plot is rapidly disappearing from the things that we can afford. And when you don't own things, when nothing is available to you, there's a massive displacement in the way that you feel about the world. You feel disjointed. There's a feeling of, I don't feel like I'm in control of my life. That may resonate with you, that may not. But feeling a lack of ownership, a lack of control is a very weird place we're living in. And that leads to tension, violence, strange people doing strange things. How does that affect the marketing? How does that affect what you do and what you sell, right? At the moment, you buy products and services, but what the trend is going towards the idea of self-service services. So what does that really mean? What are self-service services? Well, products became services. So things that used to be product-based became service-based industries. Services became products. And your services and your products should be as self-service as much as possible. So think about the things that you sell and the things that you offer in your business. The services that you have, the products that you deliver should be as self-service as possible. Why? Because it gives people a sense of control again. So having that sense of control means that they're more comfortable in working with you because they are kind of in control of their own destiny, right? And because there's so much information at our fingertips, people are able to serve themselves. An accountant can use Excel, which is subscription-based, to do your accounting package for you, right? The rest of us aren't accountants, so we need an accountant. But what we can do now is there are things like Xero, where you can pretty much fill in most of the information yourself, and you have your accountant and your auditor at the end of the year to check your books to make sure they're done properly, and then you pass them off to the tax man, right? Henry lets you do it all yourself. And although there is a check at the end of it, and although it's subscription, at least you feel the perception is, I'm doing most of this for myself. So that feeling of autonomy, that feeling of self-service and control is back. Okay. The locus of control is with you. And that's a profoundly different space to thinking that everything is out of my control and nothing that I really do, I've got any control over. And because of that, the thing that we're moving into is the idea of entertainment. So using, training people in an entertaining way to help empower people to do the things that maybe you used to offer as a core service. So the accountant teaches people how to train on Xero. The marketeer teaches people how to use Facebook or how to run a strategy. The coaches, there's lots of business coaches out there. They're not teaching people how to run their business. They're teaching people how to do it themselves without the mentor and being able to have this external control. It becomes internal. And the better you are at being a trainer in the spaces that you currently work in and deliver value for, probably the better you're going to win in the future. So there's a profound shift from offering the service to offering the access to the service and the way that the service then becomes owned in a way by your client and your customer. So we've got a world where relationships are now built on being able to provide services which enable customers to service themselves. You're helping your customers in a way that is informative, and you give them a tool that they can use without you in the room. That's profoundly different. And from a business perspective, think about how that's going to change the offering that you have. I wouldn't suggest a plumber training someone how to lay their own pipes, but there's certainly an understanding in there that what are you doing? How are you doing it? Can you show me? So I feel that I'm part of the process certainly is different. An architect sits down with a new customer and a new client, and they go through the process of building and designing that house together. It's not an architect coming up with an idea and handing it over as a finished house. There's a collaboration and a communication of ideas between the two of you, profoundly different in most areas to the way that we used to run business, right? The problem with this is we can end up with things like the same scape where everything looks the same. And why does everything look the same because it has to, because if things don't look the same, you're never going to be able to figure out and self-navigate your way around the internet or around the products and services that you've now subscribed to. If every website had a different interface, if the menus were in different places, how would you ever know what's going on? Sadly, because of everything looking the same, everything becomes boring. Everything becomes the same as it always was. So what's your key differentiator? It's not the look and feel of your website. It's not the cool smart app you've got. And you got to figure out what your differentiator is. It's probably something to do with the way you deliver what you do to people. It becomes a very interesting relationship from the global village, which is everybody, back to an old-fashioned thing called one-to-one. Profoundly interesting. A one-to-many can work as a one-to-one relationship depending on how you build that business. The other thing that happens because of this, we can feel like we're in a bit of a never-ending story. There's so much to learn, and there's so much that we need to know about everything, because now we want to be in a world where we are the person that can handle our accounting, we are the person that can handle our marketing, and we are the person that can run our video, and we are the person that can do all the sales and all the product development and everything in the world. But there's so much to learn. The idea of lifelong learning has become lifelong hell, right? It's a never-ending loop of stuff. So how do you help customers get out of that never-ending loop of stuff? Probably you teach them how to do it. They figure out, whoa, this is more than I really signed up for. And they come back to you to do it anyway. The difference is you've given them an opportunity to learn and grow and understand probably the quite deep and complex ideas about the things that make you the specialist in what you do. It's very different to just handing over your books to an accountant or handing over a product or a service to someone else to do on your behalf. Now you intrinsically understand what's going on, and probably most people understand the real value in giving that to a professional to do, right? We're also living in a world of constant triage. Do you ever feel like, oh my God, I've got a Q1 and Q2 list and it never ends? And no matter how many things I move to Q3, Q1 keeps filling up and Q2 keeps filling up. Well, that should be for the battlefield. That shouldn't be for life, right? You shouldn't have this constant feeling of doom that everything is too much, right? There's always more urgent things to happen. There's always stuff going on, and there's no break from any of it. That is where a professional service or a product that helps people do it gets them out of that. They can actually pass it on, right? Delegation isn't abdication. As long as the person feels like they're in control, you give them a choice. The choice will probably be for them to use you more than they don't, right? And then you have the same, but the same, because everything looks exactly the same, right? And the thing around that is the algorithm that runs everything, has taken the fun out of life, right? There is no yin to your yang anymore. All you're going to find is yin, 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 yin. What a boring world that is, right? We're doing customer match profiles. We're doing personality tests. Where's the serendipity in life? Where is the chance meeting of someone on the sidewalk that is completely different to you, and suddenly you love each other and you fall in love and it's a match made in heaven until it goes to shit? So that doesn't happen anymore, right? All you're being served is the things you already know, or the things of the algorithm, things you might know. It's not a great place to live. And what happens there is the deeper learning on things doesn't necessarily happen. It's going to give you a cursory overview of all the little things in your wheelhouse, and that's it. And that is where, as a business, as an owner, as an innovator, as a product specialist, as a service specialist, the deep knowledge and experience that you have will beat everything. I can run around zero for 3 hours and not figure out what I'm trying to do. My accountant can figure it out in 20 seconds. Is it worth paying them? Totally. I don't need to triage it either. It's gone. It's out of my life. All right. And because of that, the global village, the way that everyone's connected, and the way that business is connected, and the way that there's so much to know, and there's triaging, and there's all the information you could ever want. It really takes a village to raise a business. You need an interconnected bunch of people, wherever they live, it doesn't really matter, that are close to each other and understand the value of each other. Because without that interconnectedness between businesses and the people within it, there is no business. And more importantly, there actually isn't a village either, because without businesses, villages don't survive, right? So there's a massive interconnectedness between the circle of people that you have within your wheelhouse and the people that you have within your community, whatever that is, whether it's local or international, virtual or whatever, and the opportunities that there are for each person and member to thrive and survive. And the more you know about the other person and the businesses they do and the services they offer, the more respect you have, and hopefully the more willing you are to pay them for their services, bearing in mind along the way they will teach you how to do it anyway, so you're not sitting there at the mercy of them. So we're going back to local. We're going away from the global in that context of everybody. We're going to people that we understand. People like us do things like this. That's a Seth Godin saying. It basically means we get together as like-minded people. And hopefully we can move away from the big corporations. Let's get away from the supermarkets and down to the local guys that can help us eat the right food at the right price with the best nutrition for us. The ghost in the machine is gone. The algorithm kind of goes away a bit. And we're ending up back with face-to-face interactions like the villages we had 200 years ago where everyone knew everything about us. And because of that, we have the lived experience of understanding each other. Gets rid of that nonsense, that bias, that crazy left and rightness. And we just value people for who we are. And we value people for their stories. So what's your marketing strategy? How does what you're doing and the products and services you offer help people to be empowered? How does it help them to understand that they have the locus in control of their lives and of their situation, even though we're living in a world where everything is subscription-based and nothing is owned? What are you going to do to make them feel better about the things that they do? That's the question for you to come up with. And if you need some help, let's have a chat. Clint at Refinery. Have a great day. Cheers.